The thing about being preachy, which I say so many times, oh, I don't want to be preachy. I don't think I'm preachy. I'm not the preachy type. But then my friends sometimes like, yeah, you're quite preachy, bro. And I think, and it's been messing me up in my brain. I think what happens is I like to help. I like to assist. I like to provide, whatever I can if people need it, like be a resource for people. But I think trying to unpack it, what it is for me is that I just don't like telling people what to do. I don't like people telling me what to do either. So I think, not that it's that cut and dry, but I don't enjoy it. I find there's a couple phrases out there. One of them is like, never meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed. There's I know I love all these comic book movies, but they say things that are pretty cool, like a lot of shows. And I never forget listen to me. Batman, one of the Batman movies, I think it was Dark Knight Returns, I think. And that's a lie. I don't know which one it is, but I know that the Joker's in it, Two-Face is in it, and Two-Face says, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. And I'm like, because it doesn't mean that everybody becomes a bad guy, but look at how many people we've idolized and they disappoint us. Not that they were trying to or not trying to, but you're Bill Cosby's, you're Michael Jackson's. We thought all these people were great, and you find out one day, just kidding. We all have heard now that Oprah's amazing and also could be quite, that's not new information. We thought Ellen was from heaven, and so her workers got the hold of a microphone and were like, just, no, she's not. So I think a part of it is me about being afraid. I don't want that responsibility where your happiness is dependent on my mantra or my narrative or the messaging that I'm giving. I much rather you be your own superhero, always. I just much rather you be your own superhero. I think if you're your own superhero, you run a better chance of getting through harder times in a better mental state. I think not relying on people in that way. I think you have to have a tribe and a community of people and support. But if I'm waking up every day needing the motivational quotes of these 4 pages I watch or a book I read or someone I follow online, not that that's bad. I wonder and I question, what are you really getting from that? Is it really building you up, or is it a Band-Aid? Is it filling your negative anxiety for 5 minutes just to get to work? And that's why you got to come back next day or next week. And again, doesn't mean you shouldn't follow people and listen to people who are motivational. But when I talk about being preachy, I don't particularly want to be the kind of person telling people, don't go to these places, do this, you shouldn't hang out with people like that. I don't love that. I don't love telling people that. I'd much rather have a conversation with a person who's having an issue and they're like, oh, my spouse, my friend, my coworker, my job, my boss, a neighbor having these issues, these challenges every time we cross each other. And I'm like, well, have you spoken to the person? Have you tried to figure that out and unpack it and have a conversation? Versus, well, then, forget those people, right? Because they're not in your space. What if that person that, what they say, like, they say a friend is just a stranger you haven't met yet, right? And it's like, oh, it's pretty cool. And so if you walk through life, never trying to address that thing, that's a person you could be missing on a huge connection with. And instead of having this negative energy, you could have a neutral, or dare I even say a positive. So when it comes to being preachy, I have to admit that I am of preach. I am a person that's always preaching, make moves and get it done. And why wait till tomorrow? You could do it today. I think Thomas Edison said that shit. So these are things that I live by. So I am a preacher of sorts. I just don't want, the way I preach is really trying to help people be the best version of themselves and look in the mirror and have those conversations with themselves. Ultimately, first, last, and in the middle. I love being here to high five you and to pound and to get up in the air and bump shoulders. And if you're having a tough time, let's pause, take a sidebar, figure it out. But I find, for me, it worked out this way. That's why I believe in it. I think this is a good way to do it. I think sometimes you don't want to go into the bed, open the closet, deal with certain things. And I get it, because it's not fun, it's uncomfortable, it's too close to home. But by exploring those things, you come out of it understanding yourself way better than anybody on the outside. So when you hear advice or opinions or preachy things from other people, instead of being like, that's how I have to live, you can go, all right, well, let me take that information, digest it, see how it works for me, if it does at all. Have a thought about it, and then bang, right? The only way you can make a decision is to gather all the information you can at the time and then make a decision. That's the best way to do it. Meaning, we don't know what the outcome's going to be ever. We just don't. You got to take calculated risks, mitigate the risk as much as possible. Like, oh, maybe if I drink a lot and drive, that's a high risk. I'm going to hurt someone or get arrested, get pulled over. Maybe I don't make it home. Even if I don't hurt someone, I could hurt myself, which hurts other people because people care about me, right? So why not try to mitigate that if you can? Now, drinking alcohol isn't the same as listening to people with motivational quotes. I'm just lightly trying to suggest or preach. Listen to people who are preaching, have your preachers, but don't be afraid to listen to the preacher inside your head as well. Like, you should be preaching to yourself. You know who you are as a person, your likes, your non-likes, your non-negotiables, the things that make you the best version of yourself. So yes, I preach, but what I'm preaching is maybe don't follow and listen to everything I'm saying. Just hear it, let's have a conversation, and then you make a decision for yourself.